I didn't manifest or wish or
Mm.
pray. Not that I'm not a Christian, but like I just didn't sit there and manifest and hope and pray and things happen. Like I actually had to get in the mud and move.
Have you ever seen someone living an amazing life and thought to yourself, how'd they get so lucky? If you are not currently living a life that's on your terms, a life by your design, then this podcast series is for you. This is the More Confidence with Luna Guy podcast. And in this special season, I'm going to be interviewing people who are living a life by design, living a life on their terms. And I'm going to find out once and for all if it is just luck or there's something more going on. Let's dive in. Prima Jope, in your life, you have done some extraordinary things, things that most people would consider outrageous in a lot of ways. You have gone against the grain in very traditional values within your country. You said to me that you are very strongly opinionated, and some people find that bad or something. Can you give me an example when your strong opinion has maybe gotten you into trouble, but you didn't really care?
It's that's a good question. I am very strongly opinionated. I think the biggest recipient is my husband because he will say this and I will say this. So like a spoon is a spoon and not a big whatever. A spade is a spade and not a big spoon. And so like he
Uh
will
huh.
find a country. My husband is very what do they call it, adventurous, and so he'll find a country, like he just found a country and he'll be obsessed about going to that country, and 7 days of his excitement I will look into the country and I will see one thing and I will say we're not going here. And unfortunately that's it. Like I have this eye for this is not okay, and this is something that could go wrong, and I say we're not going here because of blank, you didn't see this thing. And he'll be like, oh my god. And unfortunately for him, when my mind says no, it's no. I don't always say no, but when my mind
Yeah.
says no, it's no. And he always finds that really hard to walk through sometimes when he's very excited about the thing and he want to do it. And I'm like, no, dude, I don't think so. So, yeah. I think my husband would be the best recipient of
Yeah.
this energy for
You
me.
for the opinion that the strong opinions.
Yeah.
You're a woman that doesn't strike me, Prima, as you don't strike me as a woman who lets fear rule her life. You don't seem to be someone who lets society's rules limit you. How would you know that it's a no? Like what kind of thing on a country would you decide, we're not going because of that reason?
It really depends. Like for me, I don't like it when it's too hot. I don't like sweating. I don't like humidity. And so it doesn't matter how beautiful the country looks. I don't care who's saying it's the best place to be. I just don't like waking up to a sweating me. My brain doesn't function. And so when the temperature is too hot all of the time, it may sound nice in people's heads. I just won't do it. Like I'm very strongly
Mm.
opinionated in that, like now in the market everyone is wanting to help people make 10K in 1 week, or I don't know, 10K in 2 days.
Mm.
And I stand my ground and say it most likely is not going to happen. There's stuff to be done. You gotta
Why
become
not?
the person that can make 10K in 2 days. There is things that are gonna fail. The market is not just waiting to hand you the check. And my friend, the real truth is, unless you're the 10K 2 days type of person already, it's not going to happen for you. And so what about the journey? What about embrace the journey? What about actually know that it's
Mm.
not going to be rosy? People are starting to be a coach today and somehow they think there's a roadmap to take them to 10K in 30 days. I don't know that that roadmap exists. People can try
Mm.
and put you in a
Mm.
framework and all of that, but it's not gonna happen. Most likely, it's not gonna happen for you. And so I have this strong opinion where I will say things against the market, and I honestly don't care if people think I'm crazy or not. Like there's people who talk about attraction marketing every day, any day, till the cows come home. And I like to tell people that at the start, you gotta get your hands dirty. Like we can't just get on the internet and attract everyone. Like it's not gonna happen. People will get attracted to you when you become a Luna and you have a bestseller and you have all these amazing things happening. But until then, my friend, you gotta get in the weeds and talk to people and get them on your ship. Like I like to tell people the truth, and people think, "Oh my God, that's not sexy." Yeah, but sometimes the truth is what you need. And so I'm really very strongly
Yeah.
opinionated, especially when I'm talking about things I have tried. At least I love to speak from my experience. And so if my experience suggests otherwise, I'm going to put my foot down and just go for that.
How damaging do you think it is? You know, your business is the Uncommon Market Disruptor. So you're here to disrupt because you see the truth and you want to call out the garbage that gets thrown out there. How
Yeah.
destructive do you think is this notion that in any area of our life we just get results because we are attracting it and manifesting within a very short period of time?
I don't really know much about manifesting and attracting and not doing anything and life happening. I just have, I think, gone through my life earning whatever I got. I just think my experience in life is that I had to
Mm,
decide what I wanted and go for it. I didn't manifest or wish or
mm,
pray. Not that I'm not a Christian, but like I just didn't sit there and manifest and hope and pray and things happen. Like I actually had to get in the mud and move. And so when I see people manifesting, and I don't know what they are manifesting, money or husbands or whatever, I think it's a pity because you gotta become the person who can attract whatever you want. And so just because you manifest a
mm,
soulmate doesn't mean it will happen if you're not a soulmate yourself. Just because you manifest money, money won't show up. Clients won't show up unless you become the person who brings value in the marketplace. And really, I don't know that
mm,
manifesting is a bad thing or anything. I just think people have been told to believe these things that in my world I call woo things, which is like hopeful marketing, hopeful thinking. And I get disappointed in
mm,
the end that nothing happens. But really, the truth is, nothing really happens if you don't move and do something, if it makes
mm.
sense. And
And they
so
end up
I'm really
blaming themselves. Have you
against,
noticed that?
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, go
have you
on,
noticed that
carry
people
on.
end up blaming themselves? Yeah, the people end up blaming
Mm.
themselves when their manifestation doesn't work, or they didn't get 10K in that first ever launch that they did of
Mhm.
their course. They sit there and go, "Well, I must be the one that's at fault," rather than realizing that they haven't become the person that they need to become in order to get that result.
You know, Luna, I think noticing that you're the problem is even better. People just start to blame everyone. They blame the coach and they blame the strategy and they blame the world and they
Amen.
blame luck and they blame, I don't know who else they're blaming. Most people start a coaching business and they're out within the first year because of the expectation that they came with that is not right. It's like the tilted
Mm,
expectation of what they've bought in. Most people start a marriage and they think it's, oh my God, it's my soulmate and it's a garden of roses. Oh my God, woo! And then it's not. And the reality hits and you're like, oh my God. Now I'm not a marriage expert, but I really like have a passion for marriages. Like every marriage is hard. But people go out there and show the best side of marriage. We are in love, bam bam bam. And then people look at that and go, oh my God, I want to get married to the man of my dreams. And I don't know why the story is. And you
mm.
get in, and this guy is a human being who's not perfect, who's not you, and he's gonna drive you nuts. And what happens? You blame marriage, you blame men, I don't know what it is. I don't even want to get there. Business in particular, I feel like people come in with an expectation that is only grounded on things that are for sure going to disappoint them. And I just wish that people knew what to expect, at least like the heart of it, so that when it gets easier, it's a celebration. When you come
Yeah.
into something knowing I've got to do my best, this is not a bed of roses. I'm not going to manifest money. Clients are not just going to come to me. I am going to have to somehow prove myself in the marketplace. It's the mindset that if things get easier, good. If things get harder, then you were prepared for it. But when you come with this mindset
Mm.
of some level of manifestation and I don't know, magic and whatever the thing is, you get really disappointed. It's like getting in a marriage
Yeah.
expecting heaven and earth, and there is a man who doesn't want to take a shower, doesn't want to brush his teeth, and doesn't want to buy the flowers he bought for you before. And you're like, how did I get here? There's two choices. You can either
Mm.
stick in and figure it out, or you can get out, or you can become a culprit of the marriage. And so I don't know. I have a lot of marriage in my mouth, even I'm not a marriage coach, but I feel like business and marriage as something I can't break apart because I feel the principles are the same. And so if I give so many marriage examples,
Yeah.
that's why. Yeah.
I think it's really helpful. I often equate success in many areas of my life to getting in shape in my body because I
Yep.
find them so overlapping. You can't look at someone who's in really great physical fitness and shape and when people say, "Oh, they got so lucky," crap they did. They show up to the gym, they work out, they train, and obviously genetics have some element playing out here, but most people that are buff are so because they have worked on it and they show up and they watch their diet, and it's the same in any success. You need to show up and do the reps, metaphorically. Prima, you
Luna,
said
it's
before that you're
yeah.
yeah.
I was saying that
You said before that you
I,
were that we're having some fun. Prima, you said before that you're really opinionated, right? What was the last
mhm.
thing that you changed your mind on?
I think the thing that I've changed my mind on, that I refuse to accept what everyone thought was marriage. When do you get married? What age do you get married? Who do you get married to? How do you date? All of those things. I decided I didn't want to follow anything I knew, and I just decided to create like a new way of doing it. So growing up, for your audience who don't know me, I'm from Uganda. Now in Uganda,
Mhm.
this is what it's been for a very long time. You get married, and if you're a baby girl, best case scenario, you're lucky to go to school and you get married. Most people don't even get lucky to go to school, and so they're born, and straight off they're raised to become wives. And so there's not a lot of expectation on a girl child when you're born. At most, you go to school averagely, and then you get married and you become a wife, and you take care of another person. I was lucky that when I was born, my dad didn't think so. My dad thought, no, the girl child needs to have the same education as the boy child. And so that was my luck getting in there. And somehow I got into school. But then as I got into school, I started to understand people were like dating before they knew their name. You're in primary school and someone is dating. Like, there's no future. You're not going anywhere but just dating today. And I'm like, okay. I'm in school now. Why should I be messing around with someone's son who doesn't even know where they're going? That wasn't something that I thought was, I don't know, for me. And I said, oh, I won't be dating anyone. I went through school. I went through secondary school, and I looked at boys, and I would like, I don't think they know where they're going. I also don't know where I'm going. So, like, I am not ready to be in anyone's life. I went to university, and now the expectation became, now we really expect you to be seeing someone and all of that stuff. And all of my young sisters got married. I wasn't bothered. I was looking at guys at university, and no one had a plan. People just wanted to take you to a movie, they wanted to take you to a picnic. It was more like, let me see. I like you, so let me see. Like, that was something I didn't understand. Like, you're talking to me about you like me. Okay, so like, what's the plan? Like, I wanted a guy who really like knew, like, I am here, I'm looking for a wife, I'm looking for long term. It may not be you, but that's what I'm looking for. Early on, I just knew that's what I wanted. And so
Mm.
in university, people would come and say, oh, I like you, can I take you out? And I'd be like, yo, like, can you explain what like me means? Like me, like, what do you mean? And they would say, I'm attracted to you. And I'm like, okay, like, how far does that go? Like, I always wanted to know what you were trying to do before I would even have a tea. Like, I was that obnoxious. And so men found it a turn off, and they would be like, well, I don't know until we hung out a few times. In my head, I'm like, yeah, like, I don't really have a few times to see if I see or I don't see. Like, I needed a guy who was like, I'm looking for a life partner, I'm looking for a wife. I don't know if it's gonna be you, but that's what I'm looking for. And that
Mm.
is what I wanted. And it was very
Mm.
clear for me that I wanted a life partner. And so I expected men to have the same clarity. It may not be you, but I
Mm.
am looking for a life partner. And so I just didn't go for the date. Sometimes I got peer pressured by my friends. You have to see the guy, and you have to figure it out. And I'd be like, no, okay, okay, okay. And then I would go, and really the guy would waste a whole 3 hours of my life and say nothing other than you're cute and that. And I'm like, man, like I know I'm cute. I know I'm clever. I don't need to hear that. What's the plan? Why are we
Yeah.
here? Where are you taking me? In my head, and I was like, no, like a man who doesn't know what they want the first date is not getting a second one. Because I knew what I wanted is to see if this is a guy I
Wow.
even want to
Wow.
date.
Can you just stop there for a moment? I have to pause you there. A man, I just reel back for me. That like just struck me. A man who doesn't know what he wants on the first date isn't getting a second one.
It's not.
That's
Earlier on, I
that's
read a
so
book.
powerful.
Earlier on, I read a book, and this book was Think Like a Man. It was written by Steve Harvey.
Okay.
And he made it so clear to me that men know what they want, and they know when you're the one and when you're not. Men know if they want to provide for you, protect for you, and proclaim that you're their wife. Men know that this woman is going to meet my parents, and this woman is not going to meet. Like, men really know on the first time if you're it or you're not it. And so in my head, I took Steve Harvey's word for it, and I said, these guys know. They know first time if you're the girl or if you're not. So if they're trying to see, that is because you're not. And I expected myself somehow to also
Wow.
know. And I was like, if this is something, because I knew there were men that they would meet a girl and they would go tell their parents and they would tell the whole world and they were in love with the girl and they would adore the girl and do everything. And then there were men who would meet a girl and they would date this girl for 5 years and they would still not tell their parents about it. And women somehow had a way to explain this. He's not ready and we are still seeing. And I always saw it as it's not a thing. Like, you're not the girl for the guy. These guys who would meet a woman and suddenly they were ready for marriage. And then there is guys who would meet a woman and somehow they don't know, they're not ready, they're figuring out the money, and all of that honestly was excuses. You're just not the girl for the guy. And so for me, that was very
Wow.
clear from Steve Harvey that I am either the girl or I'm not. And I can't be the girl for everyone. But if I am busy dating the guy for who I am not the girl, I'm going to end up with this guy and I'll miss out on the guy who is my dream man. And so for me, it was either it
Whew.
or it wasn't it. And I tell you, Rora, at some point, Luna, at some point, I had a list of what I wasn't willing to do until I became your wife. One, I wasn't willing to move in. Like, that wasn't happening. Two, I wasn't dating let me see kind of man. Let me see, let's see where it ends. I'm not sure. I'm not looking for anything serious. Let me see, let me see what? There's nothing to see. Four, I wasn't willing to have sex with a man who wasn't my husband. Five, I wasn't
Mhm.
willing to pop anyone's kids if they were not my husband. Like, if I'm not worthy being your wife, why am I popping your kids? I didn't have
Mm.
I didn't want a man who wanted a backup plan. My wife and I are not working out well, so right now I'm looking for it's complicated. I separated with my wife, but we are not yet divorced, so right now I'm looking for those people want a backup plan. The wife didn't work out, but somehow
Yeah.
they haven't gotten up to divorce the wife. And now they're looking for like a backup plan. Like, I was never a backup plan for anyone. And I wanted a man who was a family man, not a bar man. And so for some reason, if this man was hanging out in the bar every time and again, every day, every whatever frequency it was, that wasn't the man. Because I don't want to be the person who's trying to get you to stop going to the bar. It was a family man, and if you
Yeah.
drank some kind of anything, it's fine, but take it from home. Like, I didn't want a man who found joy and pleasure and staying in the bar because the bar is not my place. And so for me, it was very clear.
Mm.
I wanted a family man, and I wanted someone who was highly ambitious because I wasn't willing to sacrifice my like, I have this rare ambition that I know that I can impact the world. And so any man who was not ambitious to that level wasn't my man. And I tell you,
Mm.
Luna, what happened for me is I got tired of talking to people who were not any of those things. And so what I did is I wrote a list down and I put it in my phone. And if a guy would meet me and say, "Oh my God, I like you, I think we should go for lunch," I would say, "Yeah, I think so, but this is probably why you don't want to do it." And I would send them a list. And I would say, if that list makes sense to you, we can keep talking. If it doesn't, then you probably don't want to do this. And most men would come back to me and go like, yeah, you're right. And that would be the end. Now, I started to move away from going on a date and saying these things on a date because it got really easy for me to send it in a text. Because if I went to a date, I didn't have the time to read the list. Sometimes I would say, I have some things that I have to know before we move on. I want to know that, these things are okay with you. And by the time I would go to number 1 or 2 or 3, the man would interrupt and explain himself, and I couldn't give him the list. So what I started to do is I started to just send it in text. Oh, Prima, I really like you. I liked seeing you on the other thing, whatever thing they match me on. I really think you're cute. I can see my wife in you. Oh, amazing. This is probably why you don't want to do that. And I'd send them the list. And they would look, and some of them would be defensive. Some of them would quarrel for me. Some of them would be really angry. Some of them would be like, yeah, you're right. I don't want to do it. And just like that, I moved through like 50 men. You send me a message, you want to meet, you call me, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to send you a WhatsApp with some stuff I normally send a man who is interested in taking me to a date. And if this is something you don't have a problem with, we'll proceed. And I would send them the list. I'm not moving in. I don't date lemmings. There's no sex before marriage. There are no kids before marriage. I'm not your backup plan. I'm highly ambitious, and I need a family man. And I am not willing to compromise on these things. And most men would disappear.
Prima, I'm listening to this, and obviously this podcast is all about living a life on your terms and a life by design. And I'm hearing a woman that has a viewpoint that's so radically unusual in a way that I think most women, and maybe myself included, if I'm honest, would be really scared to get that specific. Yeah. Yet when I hear you talk about this, it makes so much sense. Can you talk us through how you had the level of confidence and self-assuredness? Because most people are, trying to get the love, whatever they can get. You were like, I'm really clear. What made you not scared to be so clear?
It's not like I wasn't scared, but I saw my friends got married and leave the marriage. I saw my friend got married and they started to complain. I saw my friends get married and the husband started to cheat. I saw my friends get married and the husband was sleeping in the barn, sleeping around. And for me, I was okay not getting married. And if I had to get married, I had to give myself the best chance. And so I saw my friends, highly ambitious, they got married and they died off. And so I really didn't have proof that bending your rules was helping either. Because all of my friends who were like, oh, you gotta be cool and you gotta be nice and all of those things. Okay, they were happy and then they married the guy and what? The guy stopped doing nothing he was doing and he became so annoying. Some left, some were really just like angry. I would meet my girlfriends and they would just all be unhappy. And I'd be like, what is it with marriage? Like, you guys are so unhappy. Why should I even get married? And so it's not like I wasn't scared. I didn't like what I saw from my friends who didn't do it otherwise. And so I said, if I'm going to get married, I think it's got to be on my terms. Because I honestly didn't have a problem staying alone. And I would kneel down and say, God, if I never meet the guy, it is okay. You and I, Rod, we're in this relationship, and if I never meet the guy, that's okay. And so I refused to put a meaning to me not getting married. And my young sisters got married, and everyone got married. And then I got 30, and everyone started panicking. And I said, Lord, please let the clock not determine what is going to happen to me. And I decided that if I was never going to meet the guy, it was okay. I don't know. I think something happened there. And so I was dating or in this I was in this and I didn't really care if I got the man or didn't get the man. On my paper, I had this anointing on my life and I was willing to go and do this. I was more fulfilled in my mission on this planet than I was in being someone's wife. And I was okay if that man never showed up. And so I did my best to eliminate everyone that wasn't it. Because the last thing I wanted was to get in a marriage and have these things of, do I need to get out? Because like the way that I'm wired, I'm either in or I'm out.
Wow. Prima,
There is no in between. I'm either in or out. Are we still like up live or are I still
yeah,
refreshing or something? Am I still in and out or something? I don't know what's
yeah.
happening there.
Has that been the same? We're doing okay. Have Prima, is that the same kind of thinking that you have in terms of business? I think that before we met here on the podcast, you told me that, those 5 questions that you, or 5 statements kind of that you
Hmm.
made of the reasons why someone shouldn't date you. Do you
Hmm.
do something similar in regards to business? Is that right?
Business. I don't know. Do you want me to switch the connection? I
We've
think
had a bit
this
of
connection.
technical difficulty here from Australia
Do
Australia to
you?
Uganda. We've had a little bit of a technical difficulty here. Prima, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you okay, but I see we're in and out. Do you want me to kind of change something on my side, or is it okay?
Yeah, why not? Why not do the thing? Prima is going to jump out and jump back in. And in the
Okay.
meantime, I'm just going to carry on and do a little bit of, reflecting upon what Prima has really shared with us. So Prima, go ahead and do what you got to do. Go ahead and leave the studio, come back in. For those of you listening at home now, it's something so fascinating to me. How many of you are really scared to get very clear on what you want? How many of us in our lives are terrified to make a list of what we aren't willing to compromise on? Because I think that we live in a world, and I think for so many of us who maybe are, you know, struggling with our self-esteem, or don't know who you really are, to be able to get so clear on that, to be able to really get very defined on who you are and what you want, is something so critically important. If Prima is able to join us again through some better internet connection from Uganda, what you're actually going to hear from her is that she's applied this to many areas of her life. She applies this to business, and that her experience of, living in a country whereby, as a girl child, as she said, it was pretty unlikely that she even would go to school, let alone if she went to school, the best she could hope for was to get married. And her whole culture, her whole society, everything about her upbringing was leading her to making different decisions. These were leading her to choosing a life less on her terms. Yet, as we have Prima back here in the studio from Uganda, what I was just speaking into there, Prima, is the fact that you really decided from a very young age to not participate in society's rules about expectations of who you should be. Do you apply this in other areas of your life? Like, have you applied that to business as well?
Yeah, Luna, like I really realized like early on that there's a lot of people living another person's life. They're living their dad's life. They're living their mom's life.
Mm.
They're living someone else's expectation. It never appealed
Hmm.
to me.
So true.
My parents, when I was young, would tell me like, you don't have to be like everybody else. They would tell me I'm special, and they
Mm.
would tell me I can do
Mm.
whatever I wanted. My parents made it okay for me not to look like my sisters and not to do it the same way. My mom was specifically very supportive because I actually married at 40, and she was just okay with that. She never pushed me. She never asked me, where's the man
Yeah.
once? My mom never made me feel like I was too late for marriage and stuff like that. And she was like, if you never find someone that is right for
Mhm.
you, take your time. Like it's all right. And so in business, Luna, how I see this is we all want clients and we don't want to be, I don't know, mistaken for whatever. Like we all want the clients and we have to be nice and all of that stuff. I know that's amazing. What I think I've found to work is that you have a special ability and there is someone who's going to appreciate it and somebody who's not going to appreciate it. And so you may as well be clear on who
Mm.
you're for and who you're not for. And I kid you not, I have done videos where I have given people, here are the 5 things you probably don't want to hire me. People have watched that
Wow.
and they've gone, oh my God, now I want to hire you. Like I say, number one, I'm not your 911. So do not expect me by any means to be talking to you every day, every second. Like when you ask me a question, understand that I have to take my time to think through and give you a composed answer, which hopefully helps you. And so if you're looking for a
Mm.
coach to be your therapist every second, I'm really not your coach. Two, I'm not a magician. So if you are not willing to do the work and you want to manifest results and you want to make 10K for doing nothing, honestly, I am not your coach. If you want clients by Friday, I'm not your coach. Getting clients takes time.
Mm.
Building credibility takes time. People need help. They take their time to get to trust you. And so there is a process involved. And sometimes we want to get to the clients in 5 days, and that is okay. So if you're looking
Yeah.
for clients by Christmas or by Friday, honestly, I'm not your coach. For if you
Mm.
can't take honest opinion, if I can't give you criticism, constructive criticism, I'm not your coach. So if you're looking for someone to make
Yeah.
you feel better, and you don't want to know like the truth for what it is. Sometimes, honestly, I have coaches that are not getting hired because they suck, like because they don't have the expertise. You can help people get a result, but you want the clients. No, honestly, I'm not a magician. We gotta sit down and make sure that we can deliver on what you're selling. Otherwise, it doesn't matter how many clients I give you. If you can't deliver, we have to
Mm.
face that problem. Some people want the result, but they're not putting in the effort. And
Mm.
so I Google your name, and you're not on any podcast. You don't have content. You don't have. How going to build a reputation if people Google you and the only thing they see is your cat's food or a picture of your cat? Now, I am saying this while
Mm.
really understanding that I have humility, but for me, I'm really not everyone's coach, and that is okay. That is okay. If you want to
Yeah.
manifest results, I don't know how to do that. I haven't done that.
Mm. Mm.
So I'm not your coach. If you really
Mm.
want to manifest results, if you want to use attraction kind of thing and you want clients to come and flood your program, and you know you have no credibility, no results, haven't made relationships,
Mm.
not willing to do that, I'm not your coach. Because the way we get people to get attracted to us is in phases, and phase one is get your hands dirty. Get in front of people and help them and start to print that. Start
Yeah.
to have some proof. Start to have a name for yourself, credibility, some results for
Mm.
yourself. And hopefully people like that and they get attracted to you. The attraction is amazing, but
Yeah.
it is not phase one. Unless you're Kim
Mm.
Kardashian or you're born with some, most people are not that lucky. And so, as you're starting, you're trying to prove yourself in the marketplace. You gotta get your hands dirty in the first place and get in front
Mm.
of people
Mm.
who see your expertise and value it. And if we have to give them something like come and have a look, that's fine. Maybe you need to work with someone on one call and help them for free. Maybe you have to do that over two calls. I don't know. But we have to get our hands dirty to show people what we can do. And once we're on the inside and they see what we can do, now we can give them an offer. But if you're going to sit there and
Yeah.
manifest and attract people, and yet you don't really have the mileage, you don't have the results, you don't have the credibility, you don't have the relationships, I think we're building what I call hope business, and I don't do hope business. And so I honestly like tell people this is probably why you don't want to hire me as a coach, because I will be frustrated, you'll be frustrated, you won't get results. And when you don't get results, my business doesn't grow. And so it is in my
Yeah.
best interest to tell people what I can do, what my abilities are. It's also in my best interest to tell people who will most benefit from what I offer. Because as a coach, my
Wow.
only interest is that I help people get hired today. And if I can't
Yep.
get you to that place, I have failed. You see, and so I
Mm.
really like bringing this lesson forward because some people watch my videos and they go, oh, it's not a problem. I know I have to work. I know I can't manifest results. I know that clients
Mhm.
can't just find me while I'm just manifesting. I know that, you know, I don't want clients by Friday. Like I know that I gotta put in the work. Some people go and
Mhm.
they look at it and they're like, yeah, I don't mind you. Like I don't mind all that stuff. Which is what I did when I was getting married. And I was like, hey, I'm not moving in. There's no remises. There's no sex before marriage. There's no
Mhm.
kids before marriage.
Mhm.
And my husband was the kind of man that didn't have a problem with that. When I met
Yeah.
my husband, I hadn't even said anything. And he was like, before we even get started, it was on Zoom because we met on Facebook. Before we even get
Yeah.
started, I
Wow.
wanted to
Yep.
tell you. Yeah, like I wanted to tell you that I respect you so much. I adore you so much. I see you as my wife, and I am not here for the short term. I am here for the long term. And whenever you're ready, I would love to just date with this goal of getting married. My parents already know about you. I don't know if you're going to say
Wow.
yes or no, but I already told them about you because I'm very sure that you're my wife. And he started to talk about all of these things,
Wife.
all of these things, all of these things that were on my list before I even told him. And in my head, I was wow, like, wow. And it
Yeah.
was like, I'm leaving the UK, I'm
Prima.
coming to Uganda. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to stay with me. I'll stay in a hotel. I just want to be close if you need anything. And please understand that this is
Yeah.
not any expectation on you. I just want to be with you, and I'm leaving my country to stay in your country to just make sure that I show you that. And you didn't have to do anything. You didn't have to live with me. You didn't have to do anything you don't want to do until you're ready. So I am here until you're ready. And it was this relationship where I didn't have to think for one moment, where is he? What is he up to? Am I going to get, I don't know, Valentine stuff? Like, he was
Mm.
always there. I'm here. How can I be of service? I'm here. How can I be of service?
Yeah.
What do you need? And his parents were already excited. Do you want to talk to my parents? I'm like, hey, dude, slow down. Whereas in
Yeah.
other relationships, I would have friends who are like, it's so hard for him to talk about me with his parents. And I'm like, yeah, you're not the girl.
Hmm.
You're either
You're not
someone's
the
coach
girl.
or you're not someone's coach.
Or
And
you're
that is
not.
okay. Like,
Mm.
that is okay.
Yeah.
You can't be everyone's coach. And that's okay.
Yeah. Tell me, Prima, what I'm hearing is someone who knows themselves really well. You
Mhm.
know, someone who is clear on what they want. How did that happen? How did you get so clear? I know that many of my listeners and people who come to me as you know as their coach
Mhm.
because they don't know who they are and they feel a bit lost. How did you figure out who you were so clearly that you can be so concise when it comes to your clients and with your relationship too?
I am someone who is like a student of data, and so I really take inventory of my data. I take inventory of
Mm,
everything that happens. And so when I work with clients, I take inventory of the clients that actually succeed and the clients that they don't.
mm,
And I just keep looking for more of the clients that can succeed because my business as a coach doesn't exist if people are not getting results. And so as I work
mm,
with people, I'm very clear of who sees my value and appreciates my value because there is something I bring to the market that no one can give you. But I need someone who wants that. The way I look at my
yeah.
work is first and foremost is the positioning for you as a coach. You know, I could have a wedding and want to lose I don't know how much stone on my body. The only
Mm,
competition I have is not that there is a Luna and a Sarah and the other person who's doing it. The only competition I have is the how they do it. And so I could lose
mhm,
this weight and fit in my gown through intermittent fasting. Or I could do it through cardio. Or I could hit the gym. Or I could be on that keto diet. But I could also
mm.
do a liposuction. I could get in there. They
Yes.
open, they cut me open, they remove the fat, they put the zip again, and I have my dream body for the wedding. The only competition you have really is which of these things do I think I'm likely to stick through with? And if my wedding is in 30 days and I
Mm,
have a lot of money and don't have time and can't be bothered eating right or doing anything, I'm probably going to pay 20 grand to have a liposuction. And so, really, I like to
mhm,
help people be clear on what's the value you bring to the table. You come, we cut out the fat, and you leave. We zip you, and you're ready, and you didn't have to do anything. You didn't have to eat right. You didn't have to bother leaving your
mhm.
house. There is somebody for who this is very valuable and they're going to cough 20
Yes.
grand for it. And so if you're bringing
Yeah.
this service and you're bringing it to somebody who's looking for an ebook to lose weight, you're in the wrong market. And you're going to be
Yeah.
underappreciated if you're putting your genius in front of the wrong person. And so, really, the work we do is I
Mm,
really help people understand what they bring to the table and help them see you for who this is oxygen today. And every day we want to
yeah.
be selling that. The work I do is more like I want you to think about a
Mm,
pregnant woman who's trying to give birth and their baby is popping. And in that moment, the only person who gets paid is what? A gyna. or whoever is going to help them bring that child to life. And so I want you to look at your services like
Mm.
that. You're the person who can help a woman bring her baby to the surface. So go to the market and look for pregnant women. Stop talking to Prima who is not pregnant. Stop talking to the other
Yes.
person who thinks they may be pregnant. Go and look for someone whose
Yep.
baby is coming out and offer your services. And I think that that's
Yep.
very helpful for people, because in the wrong market, your services will be heavily, heavily undervalued. In front of the wrong person,
Yes.
they will not see what you have to bring to the table. And so you have to discount your prices, and
Mm-hmm.
then you have to do this, and you have to do this. When you can solve that problem by being clear on your positioning in the marketplace, what you bring that nobody can, and who wants that right now, today, as badly as they need oxygen. And so for me,
Wow.
doing that work helps me really understand what I bring to the table. It also helps me understand who values it the most and would be willing to pay for it for the return it can give them on their investment, if it makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Yeah.
makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
How where do people find you? How can we be coached by you if we've listened to this podcast and gone, actually, the way that Prima sees the world is right up my alley. I'm ready to get my hands dirty. I'm not in a rush. I'm willing to do what it takes to build market and build reputation and find myself and position myself in the market. Where can we find you and what kind of offerings do you have?
Right now, the place that I would love to meet you is a podcast I've just created. It's called the Uncommon Market Disruptor. The Uncommon Market
Mm-hmm.
Disruptor. Right now, it will be on my YouTube channel, and there will just like a playlist, and it's there.
Mm-hmm.
But I will be putting it out there in the world, in like all the places that podcasts are consumed. I just believe in getting stuff
Mm-hmm.
done rather than thinking my way through all of everything. And so right now I'm producing the episodes, and I'm seeing what's the angle that is most exciting for me and for the market that I can now take
Mm-hmm.
and put everywhere. So right now I'm using my podcast, and I'm just going on and talking through all of my things which I have gone through, the bad, the good, the ugly. I'm bringing on
Mm-hmm.
people like you who figured out something that probably has you by the throat. And we're just having these
Mm-hmm.
conversations. What I find early on, or what I really discovered, is that I could help people with their positioning, and I could help them with their offers, and I could help them with building their reputation, and I
Mm-hmm.
could help them with, enrolling clients without a hard sell. But then things happened that I didn't know what to do. People started to have anxiety, and I didn't know how to deal with that. People started to have, like, I have kids and I can't do this because I don't know how to prioritize myself or something. People started to
Yeah.
have imposter syndrome, and people started to have
Mm.
mental blocks, and people started to have self-worth problems, and people started to have all these things that I wasn't an expert at. And so early on in my journey, I understood that I can't help the customer with everything. And so I started really connecting
Yep.
with these people who were amazing at these things that I wasn't. And so I started to bring them in my coaching programs to have them do something. And the same people you will see on the podcast coming to speak about things that they're experts at that may not look like business related, but which can stop you
Mm-hmm.
from implementing whatever strategy. So right now it's the Uncommon Market Disruptor podcast. And if you want to get me
Mm-hmm.
on the socials, I am on Facebook. I like to take things just easier. I'm on Facebook, and you can find me
Mm-hmm.
on the podcast.
Yeah, beautiful. And I will put any links to those things in the show notes anyway.
Oh,
Prima,
yeah.
it's been an absolute joy having you on here. Thank you for spending your morning and my evening coming and telling us about how you got so lucky. And, if I would, the only lucky part that I can really see from your story is that you had parents who believed in you and who told you that you could do anything. But from there, all the work that you've done has been on yourself. One closing question for you. I would love if you could describe living life on your terms in 5 final words of wisdom.
5 words. I don't know if I have 5 words. I'll probably give you more. Living life on your terms is doing what you want when you want to do it, with who you want to do it, without caring what anyone else thinks about that.
Oh, amen to that. Prima Jope, I hope you have an absolutely spectacular day. Thank you for being on the More Confidence with Luna Gaia podcast on this special series of How'd You Get So Lucky? Of course, for my audience at home, you know what? The biggest way that you can help me get more amazing guests just like Prima is to just hit that subscribe button. The vast majority of people don't actually hit the button. So if you go ahead and do that, I would be so utterly grateful. With grace, with love, we'll see you next time. Thanks. Thank you so much for listening to the More Confidence with Luna Gaia podcast. I hope you feel more confident, more self-assured, and ready to go tackle the world's problems and maybe kick ass in some of your dreams. If you haven't already, I would love for you to like and subscribe, follow, and maybe leave a review so that other people know how to find this awesome podcast too. If you're wanting to sink your teeth into something even more juicy, my #1 best-selling book, Perfectly Imperfect, Your Complete Guide to Loving Yourself and Loving Your Body, is now available on all good bookstore sites, both in print, digital, and I narrated it for Audible as well. If you think that coaching or maybe one of my courses is for you, why not head to www.moreconfidence.com.au and get in touch and see if we can talk. And of course, you can find me all across the social medias. That's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, which is where you're probably listening now, or maybe even here on the podcast platform. Sending you big love and wishing you a beautiful day.